Okay, that should be it.
Cool.
It's loading.
Looks good.
Looks like we're good.
Do a quick audio test just to make sure that we sound good.
Yes. It's okay.
Test. Doing an
Um,
audio test.
okay, she's on the phone for a minute, so
Brit.
uh, yeah. When you're done, it's fine. Okay. Yeah. Hold on. I'm sharing this right now. Copy Telegram. Okay.
Send it to me too on Telegram.
Okay. Give me audio test, Justin.
Doing an audio test just to make sure
Okay.
that everything's working.
Yep,
And,
it's good.
Cool.
We're good to go. Thank you, Nicole.
All right. I'm going to.
And then anywhere you want to blast that out.
Yep.
I don't have my phone, or my phone's my camera, so I can't like get my normal social channels. Here we go.
Okie dokie.
Oh, everything's super slow. Come on, baby. You can do it. Just one post. Okay. Well, I posted it on Facebook, so at least there's that.
Cool. Yeah, I posted it on Facebook and Twitter, but it's all good.
Cool.
We should probably get started.
Yeah, let's do it. Okay, and I got the chat. Now, I guess YouTube's going to automatically save this, so I don't have to record it, right? We're good there.
Yeah, we can always download it later.
Okay, so here we are, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us today. This is the first initial launch of VanLifeRX, and this is our first live stream, our first podcast episode. And so we just wanted to take a minute to say hello to the community, hello to all the nomads, the van lifers, the bus lifers, the people living in cars, and just kind of introduce ourselves and talk about what we have planned. And so I am Nomad Brad, and with me today is Justin Corral. Say hello, Justin.
Hello. Yeah, how's it going, everybody? Pleasure to be here.
And so what we're gonna do today is just kind of have a little chat, just a little open discussion and talk about things. And if anybody drops in, then we might chat with them as well. So we're live, stream looks good. And so let's go ahead and just get into it. I was gonna do just kind of a quick introduction about VanLifeRX, and so what we really wanted to put together here was an opportunity for a community to come together, an opportunity to gather like-minded individuals, people who are looking for a different lifestyle, people who have experienced the traditional ways of living and are looking for something a little bit different. I've started van life about 4 years ago, and I know initially what really got me excited was just the aspect of more freedom, not being locked down to a specific location, being able to travel, being able to spend more time in nature, and then also being able to maintain a healthy, active lifestyle with a lower overhead. So I came to a point where I kind of had done a lot of materialistic things. I had a house and a business and cars and all that kind of stuff. And I just found myself very dissatisfied and very busy and very stressed out. And so what I would do is slowly spend more and more time going into nature, going for walks in the park, going camping, and over time, my mindset shifted, and I started thinking about how can I spend less time, in the city, in my house, in my business, and how can I spend more time out in nature, just kind of relaxing, being in that environment and just enjoying myself. And it was just a progression where it didn't even feel planned or coordinated as much as I kind of felt like I was just sort of led by the universe, right? Like I was asking for more nature, more happiness. And as I found it in nature, I kind of just reaffirmed that's what I wanted. And so the universe kind of delivered more of that. So, uh, I just kind of dove in, and without too much thought, I like sold everything, bought a van, started converting it, and just started living the van life. So that's just a quick intro. I wanted to mention really fast for people watching. I'm in a hotel room right now. I do live full time in my vehicle, but we're traveling, and I wanted to kind of just take a break and make sure for the first YouTube live that I had a good internet connection. And a lot of times things can be spotty out there, so I wanted to have a good delivery today. So I'm in a hotel room, and the amazing Justin Corral, he is in his looks like library, which I assume probably smells of rich mahogany.
Oh, it smells wonderful. It smells like old books, and it's really the best smell that you can imagine. And yeah, I think it's really funny that we are both van life, full-time van lifers, but here we are not in our vans. But that's just how it is sometimes. As fate has it, all these books were graciously donated to me, so I'm going to be here for a while processing them. But yeah, that was a good introduction. And same situation with me, where it was like I found myself too attached to material objects, and I just wasn't content paying most of my salary going to just having a roof over my head. And that was a big motivator to try something different. And I didn't want to be working at Target for the rest of my life, making close to minimum wage. That was a big part of it too. So I was kind of looking to escape the bondage that is the 9 to 5 job. And so one thing led to another, and I found myself living in my car. And it was just a little sedan, nothing too fancy. But eventually I upgraded. I got a job at a hospital, got a new car, and I got a little bit more room, but it's still very portable and leisurely compared to the sedan, at least. So that's kind of what started me off doing the van life. But after leaving Target, a big problem that we encountered was finding jobs and finding a career that would sustain ourselves while we're doing the van life. And so we'll probably get into that later, but that's basically where I come from and where we started. But what else did you have going on the list here?
Yeah, so I wanted just to kind of mention too that what we're really looking to do with VanLifeRX is we want to kind of unite people that are interested in creating more freedom, connecting with nature, and also building community. So I feel like for me, and I think Justin as well, those are kind of three core pillars that at least for us have really helped us find happiness and a fulfilling life. And so freedom is great, connecting with nature is great, but if you're all alone, it's still kind of it feels a little bit like something's missing. So what we want to do is bring the community together, and so that's what our mission is for VanLifeRX. And so right now it's a website. It's in its infancy. We just launched it a couple weeks ago, but what we really want to do is focus on people getting to know each other. We do have plans for some live meetups, some live events. And so, speaking about live events, really quick, just this past weekend, I was at Schoolie Palooza, which is a pretty big nomad gathering. It's held in Parker, Arizona. It started out as a school bus meetup. I don't know how long it's been going, several years. And so it started up as a school bus meetup, And over the years, it's evolved and grown, and now any type of vehicle is, is accepted and welcomed. And so I went to my first meetup this just last week, and it was amazing. And as soon as I pulled in off the road, I could kind of feel the energy. There was just a huge sea of vehicles. There were buses and schoolies, and the energy was just wild. I could feel it. And so what was interesting for me is I've been doing this for about 4 years now, and so I have a good amount of friends that are in the community. And so just between pulling into the event to Schoolie Palooza, where everybody's camped out and there's bonfires going and music playing, and as I'm driving down the road to kind of get in and find my campsite, um, I was greeted by actually four different friends that as I was driving down, they like ran up to my vehicle and said hello and welcomed me and invited me to come camp with them. And what I noticed is, these are all adults. I'm 36. These guys are all in their mid 30s, but they have a smile on their face, and there's like a genuine like a welcome, and like they're happy to see me. And it's the kind of stuff you just don't really come across in your regular day-to-day life. You go to events, you go to hang out with people, meet people at the bar, whatever, um, but it's just a different energy, and there's just something about being out, unplugged from all that, and just being with nature and being with each other and having kind of your focus being in the present, that really creates a different experience. And so I just really had this strong connection, uh, that I felt that, and I realized like this is something different. It's something you don't see in the typical day-to-day life. So we want to bring those around, into VanLifeRX. We want to host some meetups, and what I really want to do is unite people who are interested in this lifestyle. And I wanted to say too, when I talk about van life, um, for me and for Justin as well, van life is kind of a mindset and it's a state of being. It's about freedom. It's about nature. It's about community. It's about reducing your overhead expenses. It's about living a healthy lifestyle. So it doesn't matter what vehicle you're in. I've lived in a bus. I live in a box truck right now. Justin's in a car. Justin's in a BMW. He's in that high end vehicle. And so no matter
Electric
what,
BMW.
if you have the mindset, you can be a van lifer. So it's inclusive. Anybody who is interested, we're happy to have you join us. And so we want to unite people who are thinking about it and looking to get in with people who have already been doing it. And I see a room for a lot of growth and for everybody to help each other out. So the experienced people helping the newcomers, and the newcomers provide some great questions and insights that us older people we kind of forget about. And so that's really what I'm excited to do. And then ultimately, one thing I'm going to touch on just briefly, I have some big visions for the project, but ultimately, what I would really like is to have a physical location, um, where we can have like a community center. We can do some actual build outs, and community members that want to come through and maybe work on a vehicle or get help from somebody experienced, they could do that. So I want us to have a physical location, especially as times get more strange and it's harder to find places to gather. Public spaces are not as open as they used to be. So I'd like to move some things into the private sector and have a piece of land, that we could all share and gather together. So,
Yeah.
what about you, Justin? Tell me about your visions here. I'm kind of just rambling now.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good point, and I just kind of want to touch on something you said was the sense of community, because I'm from Seattle, and Seattle we don't like make friends. We kind of all just kind of shelter, look away. There's not even a whole lot of van lifers, and when I started my journey, I thought I was alone. I was kind of going into the darkness, not really expecting to meet anybody, but I found myself in Austin, Texas, and that's where I met you and many other wonderful people that were also living in vans. And that's where I found my people. I didn't even know I had a people. And that's kind of a big part of why I'm supporting this project and why we're kind of committed to this lifestyle is that, like, there's people out there that don't even know that there's like a van life community and that we meet up and that we can share resources and cook and collaborate on projects and and I feel like we really need a home for that kind of environment. I think it's a lot of people are also in this situation where it's like they don't want to do their 9 to 5 job anymore, and they're kind of sick and tired of being told what to do and wear masks and take certain remedies that are kind of being forced upon them. And so that's a big part of it for me too, is just kind of giving people another option. There's always another way. It might look pretty grim for in some people's environments, but there's always a different way to interact with the world, and one of them can be doing the van life. So, but in terms of the land too, I think we kind of share a similar vision of like we want just a place where we can share tools, where we can have resources like electricity and running water and washer, dryer, stuff like that, which are more difficult to come by, but not impossible while you're doing the van life. That's a great photo. But that's exactly the kind of environment that's not uncommon, where it's just a campfire, group of people gathering around, having a good time, and sharing resources. And one of the things that we'll mention, this might be a sideway into talking about like diet, because that's very difficult to do. Proper cooking and taking care of your physical body is just so difficult to do while you're on the road. It's so easy to just hop into your Taco Bell or your McDonald's and not really take care of yourself the way that you should. And it's probably one of the things I miss most about living in a condo was just being able to have an infinite tool set of different, pressure cookers, having an oven, stuff like this is very essential to, just living a healthy life. And, I ended up coming to a solution that's pretty great. And when I go out, I try to cook for people now, just because I know how difficult it can be. But
I agree with that, and I gotta say, Justin, if you're in Texas with Justin, he makes some of the best chicken. The best chicken I've ever had was made inside of a car.
Yeah. So
That's
cast
not a
iron
joke.
skillet and an electric induction oven, or not an oven, but a burner will work great. And the nice thing about cooking on cast iron is that you don't really have to clean it too often, and so that's been a huge blessing. And like you said, it's delicious. And what really inspired me was I saw somebody else that was doing the van life, and they were just cooking. They lived in just a pickup truck, and they popped out the back of the truck, and then they cooked themselves like a steak, and they sautéed vegetables. And I was like, well, this guy can do it, then I can certainly do it. And so I'm hoping that doing this podcast and meeting more people out there, we will start to come together and realize like, oh, van life actually is an option. It's like you can live pretty comfortably, and it's definitely another mode of being that if you're looking for another way out of the tyrannical government, it could be something that might work for you. But
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I wanted to say too, one thing also on going back to the land is in my 4 years of van life, it's I'm getting to the point now where I'd like to have kind of a home base, and I like traveling, but I really appreciate the balance too, right? So there's something to be said for having, kind of a single spot where you can stay for an extended amount of time. You can work on projects. You can store possessions and not have to be carrying everything you own with you. Or the other side of that coin is you have like little stashes of stuff all over the country. You got stuff at friends' houses and parents' houses, and so it's still kind of nice to have a home base. And so I like the idea of being able to travel as much as possible, but still have a place to come back and kind of reconnect and take care of business. So
yeah,
I think that's great.
just look at all the books behind me. I would love to be able to just store this someplace. What we can talk about in here in a little bit, but I do most of my most of my income comes from Amazon book trading, and so I'll go to like a store, buy some books, or people donate books to me, and I'll sell them on Amazon, and that's been a great way to make money. But you can only store so many books with Amazon. I got about 1,000 books like I'm able to post before they cap you out, and so that adds up pretty quick. Even just behind here is probably about 1,000 books. So it would be nice to have a storage place to be able to do that. But that's down the road. And really, what I want to get to in this conversation is that we're looking for builders. We are looking for people that want to put in the work, and they're not afraid to get their hands dirty, plant some trees and plant some seeds and watch them grow. And part of my career with the Amazon has been I've been learning to program and make my own scripts to automatically adjust all the prices on my books. And so there's always a niche for people to come and fill their role in this community. And all the skill sets are sought after. And when Brad and I met up, we met through the Freedom Cell Network. And one of the things that I really liked about them was that they had a Skillshare program where it's people could come in and learn how to do some farming or fence posts or just general masonry. And that's always really intrigued me, where it's 1 week somebody will be raising chickens or building a coop, and then the next week somebody's planting a garden, and it's the community's coming together, and we're learning skills, and they're benefiting. And what was it, Bill Gates that said you want to create as many win-win scenarios as you can possibly make in your life. And I don't see anything wrong with that. I'm not a big fan of Bill Gates, but I can't find any flaw with creating as many win-win scenarios as you can. And
I really agree with that, man. And I wanted to take this moment just um, to acknowledge the fact that we're looking for people that want to get involved, and we're looking to grow the network, current van lifers and people that want to become van lifers. So if you're interested in anything you hear today, we would love to connect with you. And so if you would go to the website, that's vanliferx.com, and then right on the homepage, there is a sign up, and you can put in an email address and you can sign up for the Dream Team. And so I just call everybody that's involved the Dream Team, because really what we're trying to do is make our dreams come true. And so if you would want to sign up to be on the Dream Team, then we'll keep in contact, and that's going to be for future lives, future events, and just kind of everything that's happening. So if you're interested, check out VanLifeRX.com. Thank you.
Yeah, and that's another good point. It's Brad and I put in a lot of effort to get the website up and running. We have a forums section now where people can post questions, introduce themselves. We're going to have tutorials on there. I'm going to be releasing the code that I've made to the public. I'm very amateurish. I just started learning this year, but it's something, and it's a tool that will be exclusively for van lifers in our community, and we'll kind of keep things tight within our own group. So part of the process of selling and buying and trading on Amazon is that you have to have good tools in order to do it, and that's what I'm creating. I'm starting from scratch and building this infrastructure as we go, and it's working. I've been able to streamline the process of uploading and sending books to Amazon, where it can be done. One book, it takes 1 minute, and when you're handling 1,000 books at a time, you definitely want to speed that up as much as you can, and then you also want to get the most value out of your goods that you can. And so it's just been Brad and I both have a similar vision of just building.
Yeah, man, let's go ahead and just dive into that. I know you've done really well with Amazon, and so let's just talk about, I know a big question on people's minds is, how do you make money, right? Because you want to get out, you want to escape the system, but you got to pay for gas and car insurance. And so how do you do that? There's multiple approaches. If before you talk about Amazon, if you could talk about when you first came to Texas and the job that you landed by knowing absolutely nobody, except for the Freedom Cell. And I don't. Did I introduce you to the cell? Did you already know about it when you came to Texas?
No, so yeah, I totally owe that first job to you, Brad, and it was really funny.
I'm gonna need
So
10%.
yeah, right. So I ended up going to this group called the Freedom Cells. I went to a meeting that they had. It was hosted by John in Austin, Texas, a little south of that. But I ended up meeting what would be my boss, and we ended up exchanging numbers. We only had about 10 seconds to introduce ourselves, and he's like, okay, well, I'm looking for workers. And I'm like, well, I'm looking for work. So that was essentially it. And so the next day, I had the option to either choose a job at the Hilton Hotel because I had applied there and I'd been accepted. And they're like, okay, your first day starts Monday. So I could either become a servant, assistant, making $8 an hour, or I could work for this independent family making $15 an hour, cutting down trees and helping a group of Hispanics do some manual labor. And I said, well, that sounds like a win-win to me because it's like I get a chance to work out and I get to help this independent family and I get more money out of it. So I ended up, it was a tough choice. My dad wanted me to go with Hilton because, it's safer. You get a steady income, you get, some benefits. But, I think it's anybody when you turn 30 years old and you're offered $8 an hour, it's pretty demeaning. And it's like, well, what is my life experience worth to you? It's worth $8 an hour. So I was like, well, screw this. I'm gonna go help this family, this small family. So through the Freedom Cell, I met Brad, and through Brad, or excuse me, the other way around. Through Brad, I met the Freedom Cell, and then I met my boss, and then, like I said, it was just crazy. It was like he's like, all right, you start Monday, meet you at my home. And so that was pretty sweet. And then even before that, I don't know if you want to pull up that photo of me charging the Razor scooters. I've always done odd jobs, but one of the jobs I started out with was just charging Lime scooters. And I did that straight from my vehicle. And it was an interesting experience because you have to go and gather the scooters, and luckily I found free charging in my area.
Can you
But
can you walk us through just really quick, um, just the experience of living in, because one thing is you're not just in a car, you're in an electric car. So if you could walk us
right,
through just the experience of living in your electric car and then how that helps you do the Lime scooters, and how that was kind of a symbiotic relationship. And I'm going to pull up
sure,
the image here.
yeah. Um, so what I found pretty early on was I could actually install an inverter to my electric car, and straight from the car battery, I could run, your typical alternating current hardware. You get a pure sine wave inverter, and you can connect straight to the car battery, and now you basically have, I have 2,000 watts of power that I can access at any time. And that's really been a huge blessing because in my car I have a fridge, I've got a pressure cooker, I've got a distiller. And so what that means is that, like, with 2,000 watts of power, you're pretty much able to power any tool that you want to. And so I'm constantly like looking for ways to utilize the electricity and either make money from it, or just use it to make a better quality of life. And so that photo right there.
BMW beans.
So I had a blender, I had the little mini fridge there when I first started out. Oh yeah, that's me cooking the hummus, which has been pretty. Oh, hey, people are starting to join in. Awesome. But that's the pressure cooker. You can make the best hummus. That kind of pressure cooker is really awesome because it comes with like 12 different tools in it. And so you can sear things, you can bake things, you can air fry anything, you can saute. It's got like 12 different tools. And so I'm able to run that all off the car battery. And what's awesome is that I get free charging in a lot of locations in major cities. So in Seattle, all the way down the coast through Oregon and California, and even in Austin, Texas, there is free chargers plenty. And so I'm able to charge the car battery. So I get free miles and I get free utilities essentially. And so basically my only payment is my lease on the car. So I pay about 350 a month for 3 years to use the car, but I get a whole bunch of cool advantages to that. And so, oh yeah, that was a fun one. So what happened in that picture is that we actually ended up meeting a bunch of people in Austin, Texas, and everybody had something to bring to the table. And so somebody had some like tomatoes, and I had some eggs, and the other guy had some tortillas, and we ended up making these chorizo burritos. And that's a little induction burner, and then that's my cast iron pot. And so like I said, a big part of living the van life is that you really want to take care of yourself and take care of your body. And so we ended up just gathering a little resources from all the other van lifers and coming together and made ourselves a pretty awesome breakfast. But going back to the Lime scooter charging, so like I said, I have the AC unit, the inverter on my car, and so when I first got to Austin, Texas, I started. I needed money, and I needed money pretty quickly because I ran out of funds by the time I got to Texas. So I started out. It was like each of those scooters is about $5, and I can hold about 5 scooters in my car at a time. And like I said, I didn't take any money to charge them, and so I just left them running. It took about 5 hours for them to charge, but you know what? I didn't have any other way to make money, so it was worth it in my eyes. And then I would drop them off the next day and get paid. And so that was a way to utilize electricity that I was getting for free and profit off it. And you can get pretty creative with these kinds of things. I actually had started a business in Washington. It was called Aqua Prima, and it was basically selling distilled water out of glass jugs. And there wasn't a whole lot of takers for that utility, but so I didn't end up renewing that license. But you can kind of get creative with electricity. And one of the other ideas I had was like Bitcoin mining off of the charge station themselves, because as it turns out, it requires a lot of electricity to charge your electric vehicles. And so what you can do is attach an adapter to the charge stations and actually mine Bitcoins for free off these charge stations, because they pump out like 6,000 watts of power at a time if nobody else is using it. So it's been fun.
That's pretty crazy, man, that you can, in theory, you could mine Bitcoin, with an electric car, right? I mean, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. It's goofy, and that's always been my mindset, is like how can where has nobody explored before, and what resources are at my disposal that I can use, and put the pieces. It's fun. It's like a puzzle, right? You're putting the different elements together,
yeah,
and making them work in harmony, and using them in a creative way that actually generates money for you. And so. But
you're definitely a resourceful guy. You always have these out of the box solutions, and I love it, man. It really gets me thinking. I'm curious if you could share with the folks, because I've wondered personally for myself, what does it look like, living van life and then working like a manual labor job? I mean, are you getting up early? Are you packing a lunch? Are you showering after work? Can you kind of just walk us through what that looks like?
Yeah, so the first couple days was rough because I was out of shape. So I was sore every day. I would get off work, and then I would actually just go to the Zilker Park and go to the stream and then just dive into the water after work. And that's how I cleaned off, because you get pretty dirty handling trees all day. So that was pretty fun. But it was definitely an experience. It was intense. I liked how the physical aspect of it, getting in shape. and it was a I've never done physical labor before, and so who was it? Somebody said I was gonna like give up in like a week,
Oh, that was
and then
Joe.
yeah,
Joe was always throwing you shade.
yeah, he was always throwing me shade, but that's all good. It was all part of that's just who Joe was.
Yeah.
But ended up doing that job for 2 months, and it was a good experience. You know, my boss took care of me, and he always like would take me out for dinners, and you know, his family was very awesome, and he even do odd jobs. Like I remember one time I would like mow his lawn and you know change the tires for his vehicle and stuff like that. So it was a good experience. And a matter of fact, I sent him a Christmas card because I wasn't going to be back to Texas for a while as I expected. But I did send him a little Christmas card with me and my family and a little handwritten note, just letting him know that still thinking about him. And that's the thing. It's like what people don't realize is that there's a lot of value in labor, and that your time is worth a lot more than even like probably $20 an hour. So it's very valuable because that that the fruits of your labor is more profitable than you are. Obviously, that's how it works. So there's people are always looking to hire good people, and that's what I tried to bring to the table whenever I started a career. I think when my boss hired me, he didn't really have much expectations out of me, but I ended up being a huge asset for him and his family, and I ended up driving a lot of basically I was a shuttle, and I was doing a lot of the manual labor, so it worked out great for both of us.
I love it, man. That's really cool. And I think a lot of people would be happy to know that you can work somewhat of a regular job, but still live this lifestyle. And I assume that making um, double, in this case in Texas, basically double minimum wage, without too much overhead. Were you able to save up a little bit of money? Did you feel like you were pretty cash flow positive?
Absolutely. And matter of fact, with that extra money is I invested in books. That's when I started doing the Amazon thing. Was that like, oh, now I have money, so I can buy books to sell on Amazon for more money, right? And so that's where it all started. I was like, I don't want to do physical labor forever. I don't want to make that my career. Like, there's definitely you have to be careful when you're doing manual labor because you can hurt yourself very easily. And it's like I'm not running insurance, so if something happened to me, I would be totally screwed. But
Yeah.
nothing did end up happening. But it's just one of those scenarios where it's like you got to be real careful. And with that extra money, I was able to start different projects. And I started doing the Amazon thing because we were starting to look into business ideas, and one of them was like doing the vending machines, replenishing vending machines, and then that we kind of figured we want to be mobile, and so the vending machine wasn't really a great option for us. But through that research, I ended up stumbling upon like buying and selling and trading books, and that ended up being working out really well for me. So
I agree with that, man. And I want to talk a little bit about the Amazon gig because I know that's been very successful for you. But I want to lead in just kind of talking about how part of this journey for both of us is about mindset and about attitude and about doing following your passion, following your heart, doing the thing you want to do without necessarily having everything planned and lined up. And so
right.
I want to lead into that with my story of how I got to Texas. I was in Oregon just this past March. That would have been 2020, and I was ready to hit the road. I decided to head down to Arizona and catch the kind of the end of nomad season and just visit my dad because I didn't get to see him over the winter. And I had I had some money saved, but I had no job at the time, and I didn't have any plans. Like, I can't stay in Arizona; it's too hot, and so I didn't know what I was gonna do, with myself beyond that. But I knew I wanted to hit the road, so I hit the road, started van lifing, and I started in Oregon and about Walker Lake in Nevada. I just happened to pull up my Telegram on my phone, and like I mentioned before, I was in the Freedom Cell community, which is kind of just a network of people helping each other out. And one of the main organizers of that group had posted that he was looking for someone to help him with his business. And so he has this Freedom Cell thing, but then he runs an e-commerce shop and he runs a couple of other businesses. And so he just mentioned like, "Hey, I'm looking for someone to help me out." And he mentioned he just bought some property there in Texas, and um, and so I just messaged him back on Telegram, and I was like, "Hey, I've never been to Texas. I'm open to visiting Texas. I like what you have going on, and I'm interested in helping you, and also interested in staying with you, even though you're a complete stranger from the internet. Um, I would like to live on your
Yeah.
property if I can park my van." And it all worked out, right? So it's one of those situations where I just kind of trusted, and I knew what I wanted to do, which was hit the road and continue my journey. And the universe kind of provided a way to do that for me without really much effort. I just sent him kind of a Telegram message, and he ended up hiring me. And I moved to Texas, and I lived there for about 6 months. And I was able to live on his property. I stayed in my van, and then I could park there on his property, use his resources, and I did end up staying in Texas through the summer. So I tried out like setting up an air conditioner in my van, but that was pretty uncomfortable. I tried to use a generator and it was loud. It just didn't work out. So he had like a little guest house on his property. So I did end up staying in his guest house for a little bit because the summer is pretty hot there in Texas. So it took me out of van life for a little bit, but it's just all part of the journey. So kind of leading in with that, the idea of, if you can mentally kind of set your course, and it's really what you want, and what fulfills you, the universe will kind of deliver. Justin, could you tell us? I know you kind of joked about books a little bit in the beginning, and then you ended up being delivered a huge windfall with your books. Could you tell us about that?
Yeah, so it's funny. Brad and I had did a video a long time ago, and it's the first video that we've ever done together. But I mentioned I just started doing the books, and I was like, I could see this potentially working out for me and becoming a career. And then Brad mentions like, well, if you put your heart and you believe in it, then the universe will provide. And so next thing I knew, my mom messages me and she said that her parents had passed away, unfortunately, but they were librarians and they had left a whole collection that has just been collecting dust for about a decade now, withering away as the property does. And so that's where I am now with all these books. And so it's one of those things where I've never inherited anything in my life. And I've had to work for everything that I've ever owned, all the cars. I've never had help from my family with anything. I've been independent from the start. And so I put my faith in the universe and myself, and I trusted that I'd be in good hands no matter what. It's like even with the freedom cells, with the charging scooters, like I never was worried about money. It's like if I wanted money, I could put my effort into it, and the universe would provide. So wouldn't you know it, my mom messages me and she says, her friend is looking to get rid of all these books. And so here I am. And, maybe pull up the photo of just how many books. It's really kind of hard to comprehend how many
I love
books.
this photo, dude. I mean, when you talk about
Um,
manifesting and asking, the universe for what you want, I mean, this is what it gave. This is what it gave you.
Yeah, and what I love about this so much is that there's still a lot of work to be done. It's not like somebody just handed me a bunch of money and was like, okay, now go invest, and it's like no strings attached. It's like there's still a lot of labor intense involved in like processing these books, moving these books, storing these books. There's still a lot to do with it, and you know, I'm blessed because on one hand it's like I'm handed all this opportunity, but on the other hand, it's obviously overwhelming, and it's like, well, if it wasn't for my mom, she's been helping me out a lot and help just processing and moving and storing these books because it's like I wouldn't know what to do with it. But yeah, talk about manifesting, right? It's like you speak it into existence, and Brad and I both firmly believe that's like when you put your mouth where your words are, and you can really start manifesting anything that you put your mind to. And So the books has just been an amazing blessing, but
I agree with that, man, and I know I feel like that's a pretty good choice for people who are interested in van life because you're mobile and so you're able to go to a lot of different locations to look at books. But could for someone that was curious and has never done this before, could you just kind of walk us through, what does that look like? Are you storing the books in your car? Are you sleeping on a stack of books? Or are you storing them somewhere? Or what are the mechanics of selling books on Amazon while living in a vehicle?
yeah, so there's a couple options you have. If you live in like a box truck, you can sell your books and make more money if you store the books yourselves. But Amazon does provide a service where you can toggle each book, and they you can ship it to Amazon for a discounted rate, and they'll hold on to it and do the customer service aspect of it as well. So you don't have it's basically all hands on. You send it to Amazon. It's all hands off from there, and all you have to do is like set the price of what you want the books to be. It's basically the equivalent of like almost like an eBay, except Amazon does the handling for you. Now they charge a pretty good premium for it for that service, but it's kind of fun going into a store. You don't really know what you're going to expect. Sometimes you can get a book. I've literally sold books for over $50 before, and that's been awesome. And Amazon will take maybe $8 of that revenue. Some of them are more, some of them are less, but it's fun. So every once in a while you'll find a gem and be like, jackpot. And that's always it's kind of like a treasure hunt in a way. So that's a really awesome photo, because I actually went into that Goodwill and I came out with that full box of books, which is probably about 40 books, and I processed everything and I sent it to Amazon all in the same parking lot, and that probably took about that whole process probably took about 2 hours total, but that was really fun. Um, and so when you're starting out, you start out with like thrift stores, but eventually the ball will get rolling, the word will get out, and people will be like, oh, I have all these books, I don't know what to do with. And so the word will just get out through like friends and family members, and they'll be like, here, have this. People will just give it to you. And, but the first step is just, you got to start somewhere. So a good place to start is just thrift shops. And with starting out in the thrift shops, you can start with like a little QR code scanner, and that will make the process of finding which books are profitable. There's apps that you can do that you can do free trials from, and they'll give you an estimated value of how much it is. But like I was saying earlier, I plan on building my own software to actually make more accurate and free versions for this whole process, and that'll be released to the public once it gets a little bit more polished. And that'll be far better than any tool that's on the market currently. I can guarantee you that.
That's fantastic, man. That's really a nice thing for you to help the community by releasing that. I was curious, how long did it take for you to start seeing money back? Because when you're doing the Amazon stuff, you're investing in inventory, and so there's money out of pocket up front. How long was it until you started selling, or until you started receiving orders?
So that's a great question, and it didn't happen overnight. I'll tell you, it took a long time to get a return on investment, because a big part of selling books is actually being able to adjust your prices and be competitive. And so what I was doing was I was just going into these stores, buying it. I was setting the price once and then never adjusting my prices. And that took a big toll on my potential revenue, because, I wasn't being competitive. If the market fluctuates, which it does, I wasn't there capturing that, the big highs and the lows when I needed to sell. And so honestly, I started in July, and it probably wasn't until December when I finally coded my competitive repricing tool, to see revenue come in. But this last 30 days, I've sold $3,000 worth of inventory in books,
Wow.
and that's probably about 100 books worth of inventory that I've sold, and I have about 600 up there right now. So um, it takes a long time to make your investment, but having the right tools will make everything a lot faster, and you'll start seeing the revenue come in sooner. But if you're not on top of it, if you just let it go to your side, it's still a job. You still have to work to it, work with it, and maintain it a little bit. But for the most part, it's pretty hands off at this point for me.
That's nice, man. I like it. I know passive income is kind of like everyone's dream, right? Like, how can I
Yeah.
put in a little work, make this, create some kind of widget, and then have it go out and just bring home money. So I know everyone's kind of looking for a version of that. Um,
Right.
I was gonna mention, for me, in my journey of making money on the road, I've never, it's for over 4 years, I've never had a stable one thing that I've done. I've always just kind of jumped around. And the thing that's incredible is I've never actually, really had any any official experience in anything, right? So like, it's just like, hey, here I am, I can do that, and then
Yeah.
people are down. So
It's the mindset that matters, really.
it really is. Yeah, it's the mindset, and then it's also just putting yourself out there. And I feel like, once you're in van life and you connect with people, you make more connections, and then opportunities will present themselves. And so for me, one of my biggest opportunities was I actually got to work for Bob Wells, the the host of Cheap RV Living. He's here on YouTube. He's probably the OG of van life, been doing it like 10 years or longer. And I was in another situation where I was in a van. This would have been like my first year on the road, and I was just hanging out, trying to figure out what to do for money. And I had a friend I had met, never in person, but I met him on Facebook, on like a van life page. And he told me there was another van life page, and they mentioned that they were looking for a photographer and a videographer. And now I have no formal training in any of these things, but I was just posting photos and videos that I've taken myself to Facebook. This friend of mine saw that I could at least put together something that looked decent, so he recommended me. And this was again another situation where I just interviewed remotely, and they were like, "Yeah, we'll hire you. Come on down." And so I was able to
That's
work,
awesome.
yeah, as a videographer, traveling for like almost a year, and getting paid, and having a great experience. And I think the biggest takeaway was I made a lot of connections, met a lot of people through that. And actually, one of the guys watching today, Walt, if he's still there, Walter Pendleton, I met him in Pahrump, Nevada through this job working for Bob. So I just met a bunch of cool people. I sold one of my vans to a guy that I met through this group. So it all comes back to, I think, the community, and making connections, and just realizing the value in in knowing more people, and the value of community. So I think there's a lot there, and I'd like to encourage everybody who's interested in being a part of that community, again, to check out VanLifeRX.com. And then right at the top, you can sign up to be on the dream team, and we'd love to connect with you, and just kind of get the ball rolling, and move forward with doing some cool van life stuff. So if you get a minute, please check out the website.
Yeah, I think that's a big part. Like I said, I didn't even know that there was a community for me. And so, I found myself meeting a bunch of other van lifers in Texas, and I was like, okay, well, these are my people. And that was such a relief to find. And I think anybody that has stumbled upon the channel now has kind of already found their community. And so it's awesome just meeting up with people and collaborating and learning new skills, and, developing and doing all the things that people really wouldn't expect. They wouldn't expect people to have like a eat better than some people that have giant kitchens, and they just microwave all their meals, and it's
Right.
like, ugh.
Yeah, and going on the line of community too, I want to talk a little bit about for anyone in van life, if you've never been there, I want to talk about the van life gem, that is Austin, Texas, but more specifically Zilker Park. And so I'm gonna throw up a picture here, and again, me and Justin. we didn't know each other yet. We both ended up at Zilker Park, um, just through the universe, I suppose. And it turns out it's this huge, wide open park that you can camp for free. It's not like official, like, hey, please come camp here. But there's a huge overflow parking lot that is full of van lifers and vehicle dwellers, and so you can stay in this park and have community. And we had some cookouts in the park. I think I think a lot of these photos of Justin's car, like the cooking and stuff, this is probably, it looks like it's at Zilker,
Yeah.
possibly. Yeah. So, and then also besides the park side where you can live at, you can just walk across the street, and there's this huge, in this picture we just flipped back to, there's this huge natural spring called Barton Spring. So it's super pure water coming up out of the ground. It's full of fish and turtles, and it's very lively and clean. It's one of the cleanest freshwater sources that I've been in a long time. And so it's just kind of this cool spot where you can find all kinds of resources and really just everything you need, including community, in this one location.
Yeah, another big point factor is that they actually have public restrooms that have maintenance crew that come by every week and clean it out. There's porta potties everywhere and running water and free electricity if you have an electric car. So a lot of resources in Zilker Park, and that's where I ended up staying for a long time. While I was visiting and traveling in Austin, Texas. And, like I said, after work, I would go to that exact spot and I would dive in there and, just clean and, get some exercise in, meet people. It was an awesome experience. There's like live DJs there. And, it's just a great place to meet people. And there's just so much live energy at that place that you could just feel in the environment that was, I've never been able to replicate anywhere else that I've been at. So,
Yeah, it really is. It is good energy. It's a little magical there. That's for sure. It's cool that it's abundant with resources. And I was going to tell you about something I just learned recently. This At this park specifically. Now, one great thing about parks in general is that as a van lifer, you can get resources. You can use the bathroom. You can throw away trash. It's pretty common that you can find water spigots outside. So if you have like a smaller, like a 5 or 6 gallon water jug, you can fill those at a spigot. Or if you have a hose and then a tank on your van, like I do, you can hook up your hose, run it into the van, fill your onboard tanks. But I have a friend with a box truck, the Wander Box. You can find them on Instagram, and they have a big box truck with like an actual blackwater tank. So they have like a legit toilet and a shower, kind of like an RV does, right? And so they, every so often they have to dump that tank because it's full. And so what he told me is that um, he found out basically at Zilker Park by the public bathrooms, just down in the ground, there's this little white, like a PVC cap, and he realized it was a connection to the sewer. So it was basically part of the plumbing for the existing bathrooms. But he was able to drive his big box truck right behind the public bathrooms and then remove this cap and hook up his blackwater hose and just dump his tanks right into the public sewer system there. So I
that's
was like,
awesome.
that is an awesome hack. I had no idea. And then he's like, now anytime I go to a park, I'm like looking for these little caps. And I guess he's seen quite a bit more of them. He just never knew what they were before. So I thought that was kind of a
Yeah.
cool little nugget that I just wanted to share with people if they're looking for a place to dump even gray water. If you just have a 6 gallon gray water, you could dump it in that same connection.
That reminds me of the time that we fucking went to the volleyball courts and there was what was that? Just like a water connection line
Yeah,
straight in the volleyball courts, and we ended up just fucking rinsing each other off in the fucking volleyball courts. It's like, who would have expected that?
yeah. So let me preface this by saying, this was our friend Joe. He had a solenoid for his secondary battery that allows his house battery to charge when the vehicle's running. the solenoid went out, so his house battery wasn't charging, and he couldn't use his fan. So I kind of know a little bit about electronics. I diagnosed it. He went and got the part to replace it, and by the time we like got around to doing the work, it was like it must have been like 8 o'clock at night or something. So, we're working on his van to replace the starter solenoid up under the hood. It's like when you're working on a van, you're like elbows deep, and so I had grease and like just oil all over my arms, like on my face. And it was hot and like sticky, right? So you're like hot and sweaty, plus you have grass and oil all over you. And by the time we were done with the job, it was like 10 or 11 at night, right? And you can't sleep like that. There's no way.
No.
And also we don't have showers because we live in vans. So how did it work out? I think Joe knew there was like a water spigot in the volleyball court because I think they use it to hose down the volleyball sand. And so keep in mind this is three 30-year-old guys that really met like a couple weeks ago, and we're like, dude, we need to go clean off. So 11:30 at night, we're like, we got a hose. I think somebody had a hose they grabbed from their rig, and we got a towel and a little dish soap, and we just ran out to this volleyball court and just took turns, hosing each other off in the middle of a volleyball court, 11:30 at night in a public park. I mean, who does that? These are the things that you're missing out on if you live in a condo.
I know, yeah. It's interesting because it's like a lot of people. There's a lot of like propaganda, I'd say, that discourages like group activities, and it's like that's what the soul needs. It wants a community. It wants to have these like fun, quirky, one-off events, and create memories that you'll never forget. And that was a goofy night, and there's been plenty of them in Austin, Texas. So
There's been
I
so
love
many,
Texas.
and I think that's a big thing for me too, was really just having fun again, right? I was going back to my previous life, between my work obligations and my house I was maintaining and all my stuff. I didn't really find much joy. I felt like my all my stuff kind of ruled over me, and like I didn't have free time, and I didn't have time to go do the things I wanted because I was maintaining things. And I just felt kind of bored, and like I wasn't happy. And I'm like, I'm only 30, at the time I'm only 31, 32, and I already just feel like my life is over. And I think that was a big wake up call for me. And since joining van life and getting out here, I've had so many times where I've just had these great moments, and weekends or weeks, multiple weeks, when I go to nomad events, where I just feel alive and excited, and I feel joy, and I connect with people, and it's an experience that I forgot about, unfortunately. And so I think if that's something you're interested in, you can find a lot of that out here.
Yeah. Um, was there any other photos you wanted to share, or
We got kind of late going today. We had some technical issues, so I didn't quite put together as many photos as I wanted. Um, let's see. One thing I just might share is when I first started van life, I had this Ford Econoline, like a mid-roof van, and so that's where I started out. It was pretty cramped, in the sense that I basically had a spot that I could lay down. I can't say cramped, Justin lives in something quite smaller. So, but for me, I was in it for a year and a half, and it's like I couldn't really stand up, I couldn't really sit up straight, and I was like cooking, and I felt like a contortionist. So I would get out of my rig as much as possible, and then shortly after I got something a little bit bigger, and this shuttle bus here, this was my next personal build out, and I really loved the full size space, the ability to stand up and walk around. Here's kind of a shot of what the inside looked like. So I had like a bed in the back, and then a propane stove and a cooktop and a computer desk. So if you're considering van life, the lifestyle, there's many different options. And what I tell people is, don't start out trying to create your dream rig. It's difficult to know what vehicle you want when you haven't lived the lifestyle. It's difficult to know what you'll need until you've already been out there doing it. So if you feel called, I encourage people to just try it out. Even if that means just taking whatever vehicle you have now and throwing in a blanket and a cooler and going out and camping for a few days. Just get out and do it and see if the van life calls to you. And then whatever rig you can muster for your initial rig, just go for it. And you'll have chances down the road to upgrade. And the market on these vehicles is pretty strong. You can always sell and get different vehicles. But for me, I once I could get a vehicle I could stand up in and walk around in, I felt completely at home. I really never had the burning desire to like go back, to an apartment or a house. Other than it would be nice to have a shower and a flushing toilet once in a while. But other than that, I appreciate. Um, Both of these vehicles were about 12 feet of living space, and so for me that seemed to be about perfect, for a single person. And so yeah, that's kind of what I got was just those were kind of the two different sizes of vehicles that I lived in, and it worked out pretty well for me. How about you, Justin? You still happy in the BMW?
Yeah. Like you said, when you don't have a lot of room, you have to get outside more often, and I actually like that about the experience of living in the BMW is that you get to be outdoors a lot more. And I basically am only in there when I'm in my quote unquote office, which is the driver's seat with my laptop on it, or I'm sleeping. And other than that, I'm out and about meeting people, having a good time. This photo was taken in the Grand Canyon, and this was my first like actual like camping experience where I got to try out. I bought this really cheap aluminum table, and I was dining out there with my electric induction oven, and I had a little mini fridge at the time, and it was my first my real camping experience that I had, meeting other people. Just pulling off to this shoulder and going on this little dirt road in the middle of nowhere. It was really fun, and I definitely there's definitely times where it's like, oh, I want to be able to stand up, but if I do that, then I just go out and go, I don't know, go to the mall or something if I'm in Texas, or explore. And that's another passion I have, is just exploring. I have a drone that I take out and do cool shots with and explore the area around me. And so I've got a lot of different hobbies. And matter of fact, what I'll do is I'll fly the drone out and then I'll land it on top of the BMW, which is kind of fun. You always have a nice flat surface to land on without damaging the vehicle or the drone. So, but yeah, I would say if I ever got like a box truck, I would definitely want to be able to stand up all the way without being hunched over, because that would just drive me insane. More, at least with this, it's like what you're getting into. It's like you're either laying down or you're sitting down, and there's not like there's no in between. Whereas like if you can't stand up straight all the way, then you're just hunched, and that's probably even worse for your back. But it's been an experience. When I got this vehicle, I thought it was going to be a little bit bigger, but I knew that I can manage with it. And the thing is with the electric vehicles is that they don't have a trunk, so all this stuff you have to hold is in the front of the vehicle. But that's really nice because you can hold stuff that needs to be aired out. So I usually hold like my extra gas canister in the front, which is just a couple gallons of gas in case I need to travel for an extended period of time. But it's definitely not a lifestyle for everyone. And if I was in a relationship, I probably wouldn't be living this kind of lifestyle. Obviously, there's no room for another person, so that doesn't really work very well. But running solo dolo, it's totally fine, and the cost of living is super cheap. Like I said, I get free charging everywhere. All my utilities are free, my water and my electricity, so it works out very well for me. But
I like it, man. I want to. We're coming up on over an hour now, which has been awesome. It's went by very fast. I wanted to, maybe talk a little bit about the Freedom Cell Network, and then also let's see if we might open it up to questions. There's only a couple people viewing, but maybe they have something they want to ask, so we can maybe open up to questions. And then if you have any closing thoughts or anything, I'd love to hear from you. I want to go ahead and just kick it off. The Freedom Cells, you can find their website at freedomcells.org. It's an organization, a nonprofit, and really all the Freedom Cells is it's a large group of people. There's, I believe, around 30,000 people worldwide. If you go to the website, they have a ticker at the top that says how big their following is. But really, what it is it's just people that want to, kind of live outside of the conventional system, live outside of the conventional monetary system, kind of get back to the way of living that our ancestors did in the sense of being self-sufficient, be more involved with nature, be more reliant on themselves and less reliant on government structure and government systems. We can see over the past decade, 20, 30 years, there's been kind of a new agenda that's funneling people to become less sufficient and more reliant. And ultimately, that makes you less prepared to take care of yourself, especially as times change and as climates change and as unexpected things come up. I prefer personally to be able to take care of myself and take care of my family. And so, um, as a nomad now, as a van lifer, one thing that I do struggle with, and I believe there's probably other van lifers as well, is when you're living in a van traveling, pretty much everything you own is with you, or items you own are somewhere else, right? They could be thousands of miles away. And so there's a little bit of a feeling of I need to be prepared, and this is kind of what I have. And if something were to come up, I'm going to be on my own. And so the nice thing about the Freedom Cell group is it's a whole bunch of like-minded individuals. Many of them have their own properties, farms, homesteads, and they're all about helping out other members of the community. And they want to help out people as much as they also need help. And so I think there's a great opportunity for people that are nomads to get involved with the community if they want a place to stay for a while. I've stayed with multiple members of the Freedom Cell community on their farms where they've just let me stay for a few days for free. Some people are looking for help around the farm. And so if you are at a spot where you just want a place to stay for maybe a few months or 6 months at a time, and you don't want to have to pay for a campground, you could stay for free in exchange for helping a little bit around their farm. But then also there's people that are paying as well. For example, Justin's first job when he came to Texas, that was a member of the Freedom Cell community. He got a job with him. And also I know his boss offered to let him stay on his land. And the same was for me. The job I got working for John Bush, I was able to stay on his land, and also I had a job. And these are all people that were complete strangers, but all we knew is that we had similar values because we were a part of the community. So I feel like, again, for van lifers, it's a nice resource. It's something to have in the back of your pocket if you decide you want to just relax for a while, or if something crazy happens. I know last February, we're talking about Austin, Texas. Last February, Austin, Texas had a big snowstorm, which was almost unheard of. And so a lot of people got caught unexpectedly in severe weather. And so if you had a community there, even though you're out of town, you could easily reach out to the Freedom Cell community. You could find resources, find a place to stay. So that's my pitch. Check them out, freedomcells.org. You can create an account, but all the action really is happening in their Telegram channels. So if you sign up, if you go to their Telegram, you can find out people that are near you, and then they have Telegram chats for like Central Texas, West Texas, Oklahoma, Oregon, wherever you're at, you can find other members. So feel free to check it out. Justin, what do you have to say?
Hashtag sponsored. No.
Not sponsored. They're not paying me. I just think it's a great resource.
Yeah, exactly. That's ultimately what we're here for, is trying to help other fellow nomads. And I think that's a good point, where it's like, it's good to have people in different locations that you can rely on for, you scratch their back, they scratch your back, and that's what it's all about, right? So the more areas, especially if you're going to be a nomad traveling a bunch, you want to diversify your connections with people and meet as many people as you can, and help, just help people out. It's fun helping them out anyway. Go learn a new skill, add a skill share. So that's about all I got to say with the Freedom Cell.
Yeah, I
They're an awesome
agree.
group. So
I agree, and that's kind of where they had the Skillshare idea, right? Which, so for example, one thing they had was they had like a ham radio course, right? So they were talking about if cell towers go down, from whatever situation, how would you still communicate, with other people in the area? And so they were kind of going into some technology, and I know they have some portable ham radios that you can get on Amazon and things. And so people that were familiar with it were sharing their experience about how you operate those ham radios and how you could do that. So we want to take that similar concept and we want to kind of transition that into the van life aspect. And so people that have skills within van life, um, sharing that with new members or even older members that don't have that skills. So things as common as like um, questions about electricity or solar to questions about where to get free water, where to stay, how to find free showers, all that kind of stuff. We want to do a regular skill share where we find experts. Though um, we want to find people who really know their niche well, and then also want to share that with other people. So that's something we're looking to do as well. So if you're interested, we'd love to have you around either as having a skill set to share or interested in learning a skill set.
um, Walter is asking, is the Freedom Cell political?
Yeah, that's a great question, Walter. I'm glad you asked. And the Freedom Cell is actually it's anti-political in the sense that the overall stance is that human beings, should be able to govern themselves and that outside of the general do no harm, don't murder, cheat, steal, that type of stuff, that really we should be self-sustaining, and so it doesn't endorse any political parties. um, it's not a Trump, it's not a Biden, it's none of that. And politics are out of it. When we they have gatherings where people get together and they talk about solutions, they talk about farming, and they talk about medical health shares, which I know is something that's big for nomads, right? How do you get health insurance when you're on the road? So within the Freedom Cell community, they have a health share co-op that they're a part of where you pay, I think John pays like a couple $100 a month, but then if anything happens to him, he has like $1,000 deductible. So if his arm gets cut off, he pays $1,000 and then the rest of it's covered. So it's about sharing solutions. It's not really getting caught up in politics. So and I love that because I've never really been a political person, and I feel like it's 2023 and we should be able to do better than what's currently happening.
Yeah,
Do you have
well,
anything to add to that, Justin?
um, no, I think you nailed it right on the head there. I don't think that Freedom Cell is a political movement per se. It's more about being self-sufficient. But I want to move on to the next question. Buck was asking about if you need to order something and you're far from your PO box, how do you do that? And I can share a little bit about my experience with that. It's been on the road, there's a lot of niche items that you need. Like my induction burner was a lifesaver, and I needed it while I was on the road, and so I ended up ordering that off Amazon. They have Amazon locker boxes in just about every major city that you can ship to, free of charge, doesn't cost you anything, and usually you can actually pick it up at the locker box sooner than it can be delivered. So it's been a huge blessing. Just as much as I love and hate Amazon, it's like that has been very useful for niche items. But on top of that, when I was in Austin, Texas, my friends were telling me that there's a local church that actually offered you to ship to the church. You get a temporary mailbox to show them your ID, and you can get a temporary mailbox to ship items to. And I never used that service, but that was definitely an option that was available for van lifers. So
Yep, I agree. I use Amazon all the time. There's Amazon lockers everywhere. So any city you're in, you can find an Amazon locker. But there's also shipping outside of Amazon. So two great options are you can have stuff mailed to any not any, but most U.S. post offices, they have a service called general delivery. And what that is you use your personal name that's on your driver's license, and then you use the address of the post office. And if you just Google or go on Google and type in like general delivery mail or general delivery format, and it'll tell you exactly how you write it out. But you can put the address in, and then any item from anywhere can be shipped to that post office, and the post office will hold it for you, and then you come in with your and show them your driver's license, and then you can pick up the package. There are some exceptions. Some larger items they will not accept, and I've heard um, that sometimes like UPS won't deliver to a post office. So I've heard some conflicting issues. So general delivery, Amazon, but if you absolutely need a package, no matter what, you can go to any mail center, like in Texas, there was a local mail center called Going Postal, which is very fitting for a Texas mail center. But and they will accept any package for you for $5, and that's FedEx, UPS, DHL, anything, and they can sign it for you. So if you absolutely need a package, just go on to your maps and find a local mail center, like a FedEx office, a Kinko's, any of that stuff, and for $5 you can accept a package. Walt says they will not take UPS or FedEx general delivery. I agree with him. He's way more knowledgeable than me. So in that case, if it's FedEx or UPS, just look for your local mail center, and you can have it shipped there.
Cool. Well, I don't know about you, but I think I'm running low on steam here. So
Yeah, I feel you, man. It's been a great time. Hour and 20 minutes. It's our first live. I appreciate everybody that came out today. I feel like we dropped a few nuggets for you today. So if you appreciated it, please give us a thumbs up. Please visit VanLifeRX.com. Sign up to be on the Dream Team, and we will notify you about future live streams as well as live events. We'll keep you informed with everything we have going on. And really, we just want to meet up with people that are like-minded and that also want to share in some community. So I really appreciate you joining us today. And if you know anybody out there that needs to live in a van so they can find some peace, let them know about us. Send them to the VanLifeRX website, to the YouTube channel, and help us grow the name. So I appreciate it. Justin, any last words?
nope, it's been a pleasure, Brad. Thanks for having me on and setting this all up. So
Okay, all right, you're welcome, and I appreciate everybody. And until next time, it's Nomad Brad, Justin Corral signing off. Peace.